Right, so due to lack of demand for Star Wars The Black Series figure reviews at the time on my channel, I decided to put it on the back burner, and I am going to first and foremost introduce you to the Mega Construx Hero series. Figures that I have held on to for a good week or two right now that were still in the card backs, and I've decided I was going to hold off on those for Star Wars The Black Series action figures to come out on Force Friday and review those first and foremost. Since that was a letdown, I decided now I'm going to put these ahead of schedule. So before we take a look at these two figures to come out of this line, which is the Alien franchise, let's go ahead and take a look at their packaging first and foremost, as partake of every single video review. So it is a very generic packaging for the Mega Construx Heroes Series 1 action figures pertaining to a Colonial Marine. Just any Colonial Marine. It's none of the very famously well-known characters from the movie franchise, unfortunately. Would have been nice if we had a Hudson or a Hicks or an Apone or so on and so forth. Hell, I'd take Vasquez even, but nope, it's just a generic Colonial Marine, just like that generic Colonial Marine video game letdown from a few years back. And then, yeah, jokes. Anyway, now we also have the Xenomorph packaging here, which is just a normal Xenomorph. It's not a warrior, it's not a Kenner special, if you know what I mean by that. It's just a Xenomorph. And onto the back of the packaging here, here's a look at all the figures come out of Series 1 pertaining to Masters of the Universe with He-Man and Skeletor, Star Trek The Next Generation with Captain Picard and the Borg, and then we would have Aliens up here with the Colonial Marine on the Aliens packaging, and the Alien on the Colonial Marines packaging. Boy, I botched that pretty good. My tongue got twisted there, but yep. There you got that. Not much else to say about the packaging, so let's get rid of that and let's take a look at the figures here. So here's a look at the Colonial Marine and the Xenomorph as I lower the camera so you can see it all here. So now that the camera is directly on the figures themselves, let's take a look at the generic Colonial Marine, which says Colonial Marine on the displayable stand. And it's a very simple assembly stand here. Just a couple of Mega Block pieces here just to create structured support, and then you got your top platform here you slap on, and bada bing bada boom, there you go. Would have been nice if this actually said Aliens Colonial Marine, but no, that's not given here. I would have taken just Aliens on the display band, but whatever, it is what it is. And here is the Colonial Marine himself, Mr. No Name, just a generic Colonial Marine. Not saying that's a bad thing, but again, it would have been nice if we had a better known character throughout the franchise in this minifigure form, but whatever. Maybe next time, right? I mean, there will be a Series 2, right? Guess it all depends on sales, but yep, every single bit of his armor is actually removable, as it's actually in the instructions, which I tossed out unfortunately, so womp womp, I can't show those off, but yeah. Everything comes off on this figure. Everything can be disassembled, reassembled in many other ways. If you wanted to get Xenomorph the pants here, you can. That'd be funny as hell, but I'm not going to do it at this time. Accessories that this figure comes with. He's got his true pulse rifle here, which is very movie accurate for a small little minifigure here. Looks good in his hands. I know some of the weapons are overblown on Mega Block figures or Mega Construx. Sometimes they're bigger than what they actually should be for the figure, but this looks pretty good for what it is. He also comes with this dinky little knife here, which I'm going to show off real quickly. There's no amount of detail on this thing whatsoever. I mean, it's just basically all black plastic. If you wanted to, it can actually peg in right here on the back. It's a little tricky to do though, so I'm not going to try and force it on there. And the figure can hold it pretty good, but I've got one little gripe about this thing. Lacking detail thereof, but that's not the problem. What the real problem is how small it is when compared to my thumb. This thing can get lost very easily if it falls on my carpet. I ain't going to see this for days, so I'm just going to take it out of his hands and put it away since it really is nowhere else to store it. Again, it's not easy to put it on this strut here. It just comes undone and just falls all over the place. It's done it a few times. But let's get to the articulation on this guy, because he does have a ball jointed head, ball jointed shoulders, which is hindered by the shoulder bits, but what are you going to do? He also has single jointed elbow. He's got a swivel joint above the elbow. He's got wrist swivel as well, waist swivel, ball jointed legs, this much forward, this much back, this much inward and outward. So no JCVD pose, but hey, that's still not bad for a minifigure of articulation. So yeah, eat your heart out, Lego. But he also has single jointed knees, which does get 90 degrees of play, and that's it for the articulation. Still, that's quite dang impressive if you ask me. So let's put him back on his display stand here and take one last look at the minifigure from the front to the back. See all the printed detail on his armor, if it's staying focus. See the skull and crossbones, see whatever that is. There's some paint. Very little, but still, even the helmet's got some printed detail on it. He's also got this searchlight, which is common to the Colonial Marines in the movie. It would have been nice if he came with a motion tracker instead. As a matter of fact, when I first took this piece out from the bubble package, I thought that was the motion tracker. But yeah, I had to slap myself upside the head and realize what it was. So there's that. That's it for the Colonial Marine. Now let's take a look at the Xenomorph. 6 minutes in the video, and now we're finally getting to this big behemoth. Well, not big. I mean, he's about the same size as the Marine. If anything, he might be just a tad taller. Just a tad. So, yeah, scale's not really his best issue here. But as it is, I mean, he's really loaded with articulation. He's got the same amount of articulation as the Colonial Marine, but he's also got the additional attention of detail and articulation when it comes to his tail. It's on a ball joint, and it gets as much range of play as you want. Though it would have been nice if there was actually a cut here in the center of the tail for a swivel joint so we could like turn his tail around and give it a more dynamic pose. But as it is, it's just all one solid bit of that very soft rubber material. So it will flex a little bit, but it won't stay in position. It'll just curl right back to its normal position, which isn't bad. I mean, you could still stab the Colonial Marine if you wanted to with the tail, so it's a nice attack. So yep, pretty cool. And you can use it as a little bit of a tripod for the character if you don't have the displayable stand, which says Xenomorph on it, might I add. But yeah, it's good. I really can't say much more about it. It is all black, with the only paint on this figure being his teeth here. And you will notice that he does have an open hole right there in his mouth. The figure unfortunately does not come with an inner jaw, so it's unfortunate. A simple shortcut for Mega Construx would have been taking the normal hand pieces here and using this as a little bit of just the basics of the open jaw. If they wanted to, for the inner jaw, they could have took this and like painted the tips of the fingertips white to give it the teeth. Make a longer peg extension so it can stand out just a little bit from the actual jaw of the Xenomorph. And bada bing, bada boom, there you go. There's your inner jaw. But they didn't do that. I'm not so sure why. Maybe it just wasn't in the budget. These figures being $5, you really can't expect much, but for what they have to offer, they got quite a bit, especially with the attention to detail. While there's not really that much paint love, there really is a lot going on with the actual design of the Xenomorph here, from the tubes on the back to the design of his neck, his head, the skull, which is nice. The rib cage is also very sick in design. Look at that. Look at that. That's very nice. Even his crotch piece right there, his toes are nicely designed. So outside of cheating with the claws on his hands, and these bits are actually fragile, I wouldn't risk rotating these. You can if you want to, but chances are you might break them, and I have heard some stories of people breaking these bits already because they are fragile. So the only bit of articulation that's lacking thereof is actually at the wrist, because unfortunately the claws here make up the hand, and it just pretty much crosses out the actual hands here that are supposed to be hidden, but hey, you can still see them, so whatever. And that's basically it for the Xenomorph. Now let's get to his accessories that he comes with, and that is not this one. I didn't want to show that one off first, but here is the face hugger with some nice detailed work here, but no paint whatsoever. But if I can get the focus in, there you go. There's that. Basically, it's just one solid bit of plastic, or actually rubber's what I meant to say, so it just sits there. That's it. It's got no play value. Except for this one right here, the one that's in the I'm gonna choke you out pose. So what you can do with this one is, just like in the instructions, you can take the Colonial Marine figure here, focus in on the Colonial Marine, take the face hugger and put it over his head, and there you go. Nice recreation from the Aliens franchise, all movies as a matter of fact. So the face hugger is pretty much laying an egg inside the Colonial Marine, and it's gonna launch out a chest buster in a little while, and at the same time in the process, facehugger dies instantly after laying the egg. So yep, that's basically the end of that story, and not much else to really say about this. So let's do some brief side-by-side comparisons after I get the Colonial Marine standing up again. So okay, now that we got all that said and done, let's bring in the only thing that I can do a side-by-side comparisons with, because they're the only other Mega Bloks / Mega Construx figures that I actually own, and that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Classic Series. So here are the 4 Turtles, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael side by side each other, with a nice crossover event that could occur someday, maybe in stop motion. I don't know. I'm not gonna do it. Someone else could do it. But yeah, if you want the Aliens versus TMNT, there you go. It is a possibility thanks to the expanded universe of this Mega Construx Hero series, which is going to have quite the era of movie franchises, video game franchises, and comic books all in one spectacular crossover series. That's very cool. I can't wait to hear the announcement of Series 2. I can't wait to see what Mega Construx has to offer with that wave. But having said that, hopefully maybe might be some more alien stuff in the works here. I'd love to see a giant queen alien to go along with this Xenomorph here. Maybe even some of the various color designs that came up from Kenner's factory back then. That would be nice. Maybe we could actually get some real Colonial Marines from the actual film instead of a generic one. I mean, yeah, good for army building, both of these, but we need some expansion here. We need some different key figures. So questions or comments, you know what to do. Hit it down below in the comment section of the video. If you like today's video review, hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see other video reviews similar to the one that you're seeing here today. Until then, this is your King Red's Power signing off, saying thank you very much for watching this, and I will see you whenever you see me.